Turning the Tide. It's led by our good friends at the Fifth Avenue Committee. You know the Fifth Avenue Committee? Yeah. They work directly with residents of public housing in Gowanus and Red Hook, making sure they have a say in how the millions of dollars spent for sustainability and resilience in NYCHA have the community's voice.
When I say climate, you say justice. Climate, justice. Climate justice. Climate justice actually speaks about social justice.
Woo!
Yes. Social justice working at the intersections of racial, social, and economic inequities.
I really want to acknowledge our leaders. First off, I want to acknowledge Miss Cherry Shiver, who's down there, and Beverly Corbin, and all our other leaders on stage, Diana, Felix, Sandra Garcia, Zakia Lloyd, Monica Underwood, Carolyn Ferguson.
As a nonprofit community development corporation that came out of the anti-poverty movement, that came out of the social justice movement in the 1960s and 70s, we've been fighting for economic and social justice for nearly 40 years. And for us, being focused on climate justice and being focused on environmental justice is a natural extension of that work. It's especially a natural extension of that work because of the fact that we have been working in Gowanus and Red Hook and other neighborhoods that have had a disproportionate share of negative environmental burdens for decades.
Each community should take their fair share of environmental health hazards and not just put in one community where poor people mostly live.
This area will have to be cleaned up as part of the overall Gowanus Canal cleanup. The canal cleanup is estimated to be about $500 million and to be paid for by more than 40 different responsible parties.
We have a platform in regards to sustainability and resiliency, and one of the things we'd like is a eco district.
The biggest issue we've been working on for the past year, along with Karen Turning the Tide, has been the issue of mold in public housing. So thank you for your work on that, which have to do with NYCHA policy, with city legislation, and also with investment.
Climate justice also means picking up the fight that our ancestors started a long time ago when their lands were taken away.
We still don't have a community center, and we still don't have a hub where we can actually have the beginnings of a conversation about how emergency preparedness could not only integrate the community, who are all going to be facing climate change as we know it, but also making sure that those who are here first, the public housing residents who are the majority of the community on this side of the canal, are the ones that see the most benefits.
Fifth Avenue Committee in Fury launched a 7-month, 8-module environmental justice curriculum that focused on environmental justice issues specific to our homes and our neighborhoods. We learned about the EPA Superfund cleanup, the Red Hook ball fields and the lead contamination that's happening there, Thomas Green Park with the former manufactured gas plant site cleanups, the DEP green infrastructure, storm surge barriers, and combined sewage overflow retention tanks. We also learned about a lot of measures being planned to make public housing more healthy and sustainable.
Fight, keep learning, and make sure that you stand up and speak for yourselves and your community.
Thousands of public housing residents are living in substandard conditions.
I would like to speak about the need for more parks in the Gowanus area as part of the rezoning, particularly for NYCHA residents.
If you have to continuously step out of the area to just get your basics dealt with, these are all incentives that feel like you're being pushed out.
Right. We have talents, we have vision, we have taken a positive course. Let us make progress by raising our voice. We are not in a position to slumber. Positive results are made in numbers.
This is like my first time ever going to a march.
Climate change is really affecting a lot of people, and I feel like I'm here to help, you know?
Because I want to make a difference in the community.
I work with the Digital Stewards, where we're putting up the mesh network for Gowanus Housing. And what we're doing is putting up a community Wi-Fi network. In the case of disaster, it provides resiliency. If there is no disaster, It's a free network that people can use for educational opportunities, or just to surf, or just to, connect to the internet, where in some cases where people don't have access to the internet.
Public housing is the most permanent form of affordable housing, and the city is committed, and we are working very hard to make sure that this resource continues to be here for future generations, and that we're able to improve the housing conditions of the residents who currently live here.
To have these cuts coming from Washington, that's going to destroy this community and the viability of this community and the people that are here, is a shame.
There's supposed to be a $7 billion cut, which, there have been constant cuts for the last 30 years, but, this is really something very different in scope. Tomorrow, we're going to be taking a bus trip to DC to have a rally in the city against HUD budget cuts. We're going down there, just to make sure that, there's a face to these cuts, and that these are actually affecting people. These are actually affecting seniors who, for them, NYCHA is the way that they can stay in New York City, right? And they can continue to afford their rent. But also really just to say that there has to be a real change in how we perceive public housing and housing entitlements in general.
Mold is here, and it was here before Sandy, and once Sandy happened, it just spread itself out.
I think when you look at the failure of Sandy cleanup and the fact that NYCHA residents from around the city continue to be treated like second-class citizens when it comes to repairs, this is New York's big crisis.
Red Hook Initiative decided to do a survey on mold in Red Hook houses. We're releasing a report around the anniversary of Sandy that will tell the story that we discovered when we did the survey.
That's their biggest problem, actually. They always come and just do halfway done work, and they never finish. They never get to the main problem. Instead, they just keep coming back over and over for the same problem, instead of fixing it.
I saw a couple of people and a truck back there on Bay Street. They were testing for lead poison. I was explaining to them that the ball field also has dust particles coming, into my apartment.
One of the things we're assessing is not only the Superfund areas in South Brooklyn, but also the capacity of the human beings in Red Hook. A lot of times the residents, including myself, are overlooked.
We've been supporting the RHI campaign against mold in Red Hook houses, and just today they came out with the NYCHA newsletter that actually said that there's this Mold Busters program, and guess where it's coming? The pilot program. It's coming to Wyckoff and Warren. We led an urban heat island panel to bring attention to that really critical issue in our community that nobody else has really recognized. We formed a steering committee, and we've grown into this Gowanus Neighborhood Coalition for Justice. We have a campaign corner. Let us know what priorities you want to see us focus on in this next year.
We need everybody's support.